So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. We will be talking about Dr. Ismaila Ceesay, inshallah. And because Pa Samba Jow was on coffee time, he sent a voice note to coffee time, which was played as Ismaila was sitting down there in the studio listening, and he was given an opportunity to respond. I'll play you both audios of that one. And also, I will be presenting you a segment of Dr. Halifa Salah's interview, actually. He just granted an interview to Alieu of QTV. This was aired literally 1 hour ago, just 1 hour before I started recording this program. So I'll be bringing you a segment that I thought was important for my discussion, or at least for my viewers. I will bring you also the latest from the Gambia. Today there was a very shocking and interesting news from the Gambia. And what is that shocking and interesting news? A judge, at least one judge, has been caught pants down, red-handed, hands in the cookie jar, selling you know what, the white stuff, right? So that's here. So by the way, we're gonna begin with that with the judge's case, because it's a very interesting one, and it's also a latest news because this case has been previously reported, but there were no charges pressed against anyone involved. But this time around, the news is telling us something different. So we will get into that, and then we go to Halifa Sallah. Halifa Salah's audio is not as long, and then from there we continue with the longer version, and which I think is also one of the most interesting ones, that is Dr. Ismaila Ceesay versus Pa Samba Jow. So I would like to give credit to Kex. He's doing a fantastic job. He's the one who reported this, very meticulous and on point. He said Magistrate Colley and 2 judicial officers face charges of fraud and dealing with prohibited drug. The State Law Office has pressed 5 criminal charges against Magistrate Ebrima Jank Colley of the Kanifing Court, Ridwan, Othman, and Mariama Jankey, Tamba. The charges were theft, fraud, breach of trust, dealing with prohibited drugs, and neglect of official duty. On count 1, the State Law Office charged Ebrima Jank Colley, Ridwan, Othman with conspiracy to commit a felony contrary to Section 368 of the Criminal Code. The prosecution alleged that Ebrima Jank Colley and Ridwan in October 2023 at Kanifing conspired among themselves to steal exhibits, that is 45 blocks of the thing that I don't want to mention here. You all know the white thing, being exhibits tendered in criminal case number KMC DLEAG 23-2023. Sorry. On count 2, the State Law Office charged Ebrima Jank Colley and Ridwan Othman for theft contrary to Section 245 and punishable under Section 257 of the Criminal Code. The two, in the same month and place, allegedly stole 45 blocks of the same thing that I don't want to mention, you know it. 45 blocks, which were tendered and admitted as exhibits in a criminal case. On count 3, the State Law Office charged Ebrima Jank Colley, he is the magistrate, and Ridwan Othman with fraud and breach of trust contrary to Section 112 of the Criminal Code. The prosecution alleged that the two, while discharging their duties as magistrate and an assistant registrar of the Kanifing Magistrates Court, fraudulently tampered with 45 blocks of the thing, which were tendered as exhibits in a criminal case, and replaced them with a fake substance. Iwali. In count 4, the state law charged Ebrima Jank Colley, the magistrate, and Ridwan Othman, apparently his assistant registrar, for dealing with prohibited drugs contrary to Section 33 of the Drug Control Act. It is alleged that the two transferred 45 blocks of the white stuff tendered as exhibit in a criminal case to an unknown location. Make them disappear. On count 5, the State Law Office charged
Mariama Janke Tamba
with neglect of official duty contrary to Section 113 of the Criminal Code. It is alleged that she omitted to mark 52 blocks of the same kind of substance, which were tendered and admitted as exhibits in a criminal case. The Chief Justice has appointed the case to a newly appointed judge, Justice Irie, to hear and determine the case. I'll remember to put the new judge's picture for you on the screen, just for your visuals. All right, so let's continue with Halifa Sallah. He just granted an interview to Alieu Ceesay of QTV. What did Halifa has to say? Remember, a few years ago, Halifa did say that he has, He did not say retired, because he actually tried to correct that. That people who are saying that he has retired are misconstruing his words or his intentions. He has never intended to actually retire from politics, as he is going to very articulately explain here. That he just said that what he meant to relay in essence was that he has no intentions to further seek electable positions in politics, but that doesn't mean that he is going to step away from politics completely. There is a distinction between the two, and I think there is a very fine line. Okay, let's listen to Halifa himself.
In 2021, you said you had retired from political representation. What did you mean, and do you still stand by the decision?
Well, sometimes people do not focus on what is being said and why it is being said. Over the years, I struggled to serve the Gambia, not to be a member of a National Assembly or a president. The service was to a country. And as you can see in the earlier phases, well, it is CDA who used to stand as presidential candidate. So these issues of candidature and being National Assembly president, this is not, or these are not the issues that DOI members or leaders are focused on. We can never, ever retire from serving our country. And I hope that will be clear, that when that was said, is that I became a National Assembly member in 2017 for a purpose. And when I met the members of my constituency, I told them that we have effected change in 2016, and the National Assembly is fundamental to that change. And I believe that I have the ability to be able to accompany the coalition in that National Assembly, because we will be dealing with very serious matters of constitution building, legislative reform of all sorts, and especially oversight. So I was prepared to be there for another 5 years to carry out that purpose. And therefore, when all the objectives of the coalition were actually put aside, well, I served as a member to the best of my ability, knowing full well that I would not want to go back to that National Assembly just to be a National Assembly member, because our objective was to change a country. And obviously, changing the country would require all the things than to be a National Assembly member. I believe that I am now in a better position to be able to accompany the country, to give greater clarity. If you see the books I have written within this short period, I don't think if I were a National Assembly member, I'll have time to do that. So this is giving myself greater opportunity to serve the party and to serve the country from another angle, in another angle. So the question here, whether Halifa Sallah will stand again or not stand again, that's not really the issue. And we've told the members abroad that they should not be talking about that, because that is immaterial to what we are. Because what is important now is for people to recognize, and it should have always been recognized, that DOI is a leadership, it's not a personality. And Halifa Sallah will always be part of that leadership.
But now the question is, do you still stand by that decision that 2021, you had retired from,
Nobody said retirement. I think you are the people who talk about retirement. What I've talked about is standing.
Before we go further here, Alieu did say representation. Okay, Alieu did not just say you have retired. Of course, Halifa spoke over him, and then his words were not as clear. But obviously, if you listen carefully, you heard him say political, representation. Okay, so a lot of people might not understand, but Alieu is very informed about this, and I just want to thank him for this very, very brilliant interview. Actually, he was tough, he was tough and professional. So kudos to Alieu. This was a good one. But I'm playing this segment for a purpose, okay? So let's get going.
For elective positions. Okay. And elective positions, those positions in general, do not negate the participation of a person in building a country.
Okay. So meaning we can say Halifa Sallah is not going to be the candidate for PDOIS in 2026?
That should not be said to anybody, because it's not anybody's really prerogative to say that, because Halifa Sallah, under Section 26 of the Constitution, has the right to elect or be elected. So that right always remains. And other people may want Halifa Sallah to be this or that. That always remains. At the end of the day, it is left to what Halifa Sallah will do. That's Halifa Salah's prerogative.
So what's not an issue? What will take you to change your mind in the event?
There cannot be no issue of changing or not changing minds. I think this should be clear.
I swear to God, Alieu is a good journalist. I'm telling you, Alieu is so good at what he does. Look, he's been very professional at the same time, asking the most important question here. Because you could see, he understood the atmosphere, and also the common understanding. That's why, if I may deviate a little bit, that's why it is very outrageous that the president decided to charge those two journalists about publication of news or rumors about his aspirations to contest again in 2026. Alieu is informed, just like any other Gambian, that there is a particular segment or faction within the PDOIS that really wanted to see that Halifa contest again. Okay, and you can see Halifa even alluded to that. He said he did say that he told the people, their supporters abroad, that they do not have to say these things. You understand? So the fact that Halifa is referencing the people in the diaspora, that tells you something. That there is a group of people within the PDOIS that really want to see that Halifa contests again. And Alieu is informed about this. And he cannot say conclusively that he has evidence to say this is a fact. But we all understand the notion, the things that happens within the political parties. We understand the atmosphere. We can feel things. We talk to people behind the scenes. We may hear things that we may not be able to say on the media. We may hear things, and even perceive things that we may not actually be able to say authoritatively that this is what is going to happen. But we understand that these are possibilities that can happen. So Alieu understands it, and just like any other Gambian, he understands that Halifa may contest again. And on that premises, he's asking this question. All this makes the journalist case look very outrageous. The two journalists case. It is just simply outrageous that you have to charge someone for simply saying that there is a possibility that, you will not contest and somebody will contest instead. It is just outrageous. Simple as that.
That Halifa Sallah will not make himself a presidential candidate, and Halifa Sallah does not necessarily have to be a presidential candidate to continue to serve country and people. What we want people to know is that there may be countless number of people who would want Halifa Sallah to be a president.
Exactly.
Let them continue to want Halifa Sallah to be a president. But nobody should deprive them of that desire for this personality to serve them. But at the end of the day, we as DOI must sit down and look at what is in the best interest of the country and do that. And of course, everything matters in selecting the person who will be presiding the affairs of this country. Of course, integrity always matters, and our integrity will remain untarnished.
Okay, for me, that is to say, when he talks about his prospects of running and then concluded with this integrity issue, that tells me that he's going to stick with what he said, but he just doesn't want to draw conclusion and say definitively that he's never going to contest again. Of course, politicians will always want to leave doors open. And to be fair to him, as humans, I think issues like this, it is okay to just sometimes leave them open and not just shut all doors for yourself by just drawing conclusion that you will never ever do this, you will never ever do that. But I think it is good that he is also reminding the followers of his party and all of us that he has an integrity to protect and that he will honor his words. That's what I think he is trying to say here. You may have a different opinion, but that's my perception.
In that case, will the interests of the party, for example, if the supporters of DOI come out and said, Honorable, we want you to, be our candidate?
We'll wait for that day. That's why we are saying every DOI member has that right to determine who should be a presidential candidate. And every member of the DOI leadership has the prerogative to guide the members towards what is in the best interest of the country.
Are we not saying Halifa Sallah gradually taking a U-turn from his 2021 position, even saying, I want to contest again.
Even if people have that in mind, that is they are entitled to that. What we are saying is that DOI has a leadership, and DOI will always be a party with a leadership and not a particular leader or personality who aspires to be a presidential candidate. We have no aspiration to be a president. We have a duty to serve in any capacity.
So political parties have term limits for their leaders?
Okay, thank you.
No. Yes, depending on the constitution of a political
And
party.
please, my PDOIs people, can you kindly listen? Because all the people online, on social media that I have seen so far, that are requesting for Darboe to be changed, majority of them are from PDOIs. You always ask that we implement this so-called term limit. Listen to your own leader. Articulately explain this. Oh my God, if you truly love this man as a PDOI supporter, you should regret those statements that you've made against Ousainou Darboe, that he should step aside. Based on what?
As far as DOI is concerned, we do not have term limits. And precisely why? Because we became a liberation movement almost. You can see that up to 2016, no single opposition party had ever changed the Gambia through the ballot box. So we do not have a system where political parties change leadership of a country. We have opposition parties struggling to even be relevant.
And UDP is not an exception to that. We are also a political party. And as far as we all, just listen to him, okay? As far as the records are concerned, no single political party was able to remove a sitting government from power in the Gambia. So what Halifa is trying to explain is simple. If that's not happening, changing of the implementation of term limit within political parties might not be as important. You can interpret it another way, but that's how I see it. Let's allow him to speak further.
Even to have members who will be sustained to continue to support and work for those political parties. We are unfortunate to be in a country where opposition is not endeared to a population to a point that you can continue to change your leadership. That is our reality. And therefore, as people who love our country and people, we must persist until we can build the type of party that can have exactly what you're talking about, where the leadership of political parties can change.
In a recent interview, you were quoted as saying in 2021, your party had sought to give the citizens an option of how to eradicate corruption. You said ignorance and any form of injustice, but voters didn't vote for you. Do you have an explanation?
That's their prerogative. For us, whatever the voters decide, we accept. But what we must always say is that 2016, we work to effect change so that we will eradicate poverty, injustice, and ignorance.
This is what doesn't make sense to me. You want to eradicate injustice, poverty, corruption, I understand that, but ignorance, come on. We build systems to educate people. I'm not sure where these kind of political ideologies fly, but as far as I know, it doesn't fly in Gambia. It will never ever fly. I think this is one thing that makes me not connect with DOI. I don't like this idea. This whole approach of I'm going to educate people, give them no blah. No. Do your politics, guys. Please, with all due respect, bring your policies, implement them. If you think that people need to be enlightened, you can educate people through your policies. If you are in government, you can obviously have a greater deal of influence as to how the people will get education. If you come to power, obviously you'll have a massive advantage and leverage over, as to how people will get their education in that given country. But as an opposition, I don't think it is ideal to approach politics from this angle of a lot of people are ignorant. We need to enlighten them. Politics goes with civic education, but that doesn't necessarily mean that people are ignorant. You understand? And I'm not sure even if you think that people's understanding are a little bit below average or not as good. I don't think it is going to be, it is ideal to describe it as ignorance, because you are not dealing with adversaries here. You are dealing with your own people. You want to educate them. I'm not gonna
from our own perspective
stay along with this interview anymore.
And what we can say, even though they did not vote for us, we see a country.
You see, another content creator or another journalist could simply say, this guy literally, based on just this interview alone, yeah, can just draw the conclusion that this guy is literally saying that the voters are ignorant because they didn't vote for him. Just listen to the video, you know. It is just quite, I find this guy very interesting. I find Honorable Sallah very interesting. I find PDIs and, you know, they are subjects, or shall I call them the Talibans. I find them to be really, 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 really interesting. And most of them subscribe to this notion that a lot of people are just simply not aware. And that's why they are falling for these things. One thing that he mentioned, among all the things that he itemized that PDIs want to advocate for and, you know, champion the fight against, one of them, corruption. I think corruption is one thing that if you are able to eradicate in the Gambia, you're going to have a great deal of success. I kid you not. Yeah, just corruption alone. Okay? And that's very much connected with what? Justice that you said you are fighting for. Okay? So I'm not sure we're going to go any further with this interview. So let's go to Dr. Ismaila Ceesay. Ismail. But before we get to Ismail, first we're going to have Pa Samba Jow. Okay? Pa Samba Jow will come, then Ismail.
Good morning, Peter. Good morning to all the listeners. Peter, on January 31st, 2018, I wrote on my Facebook page, quote, President Barrow, we are not going back to dictatorship. The era of being called for questioning by the police because of an interview in a newspaper should be gone and forgotten. Gambians fought through sweat and blood for democracy and not a replica of Jammeh's disdainful dictatorial tendencies, unquote. Peter, and I wrote this in reaction to the arrest of Dr. Ceesay for an interview he gave with the Voice newspaper. Peter, Dr. Ceesay and I both believed at the time that his arrest was unjustifiable, unconstitutional, and was meant for nothing but to undermine or silence dissent. This is why when I heard your interview with Dr. Ceesay, in which he was trying to defend the political prosecution, or persecution if you want to call it that, of the Voice newspaper, I was really disappointed and saddened. Because the same argument that Dr. Ceesay is making today, that, you know what, the police have the right to question anybody, that what these people write or wrote the story could have far-reaching implications also, were the same argument being used against him in 2018. But Dr. Ceesay did not agree with them. And this was why when Dr. Ceesay was released by the police, when he was asked to go home, he insisted that unless he was apologized to by the police, that he was not going to leave the police station. Many people will ask, what is wrong with Dr. Ceesay? What has changed? Well, that is for Dr. Ceesay to answer. One thing that I know for a fact, though, is that the Dr. Ceesay that I know, if he were still in the opposition, would have been one of the loudest critics of the government, especially with the arrest of these two journalists. There is no way that anybody who values democracy, human rights, and free press can justify this attempt again by the government to silence dissent. And even the argument that is being made that the story could undermine trust or could undermine confidence of potential voters is quite disquieting. Peter, if President Barrow were to wake up tomorrow and tell the whole world that I'm not seeking a third term, he would have been praised not only by Gambians, but the world over.
He's going to be a legend.
Because, especially for the Gambia, he would have set a precedence that has eluded our country for too long. He would have given the Gambia an opportunity that we had not had for a very long time. Because let's not forget, Jawara was president for 30 years, Jammeh 22. And when people voted in 2016, part of what was in the mind of most people who voted was maybe this would be the beginning of the end of self-perpetuating rule. So, Peter, again, those who advise the president, including Dr. Ceesay, must be guided by what is in the greatest interest of the Gambian people. And massaging the ego of the president in this matter is both counterproductive and will never enhance the democratic credentials of the president. If anything, it is a stain on our republic and a stain on the democracy that we are trying to build in our country.
Exactly.
And I hope that Dr. Ceesay and all those who are advising the president would always remember their oath, that they will serve without fear, favor, affection, or ill will. The Gambian people deserve much better than trying to spin the violation of rights of people. Even this argument that there has never been a prisoner or a journalist prisoner or activist in prison or political prisoner in the country is laughable. A simple reminder, Dr. Ceesay, just last year, Alaji Bora of Kirfatu was abducted, held incommunicado for over 6 days or about 6 days in violation of the constitution.
Adama Barrow
This was why the courts ruled in his favor and asked that your government compensate him for the violation of his rights. And on the issue of corruption, how can you sit before the whole country and claim that there is no corruption in this government? When your government is prosecuting officials for corruption, when a former minister is at the verge of being prosecuted for corruption. You see, we can defend, but let's not defend to the extent of making a mockery of ourselves and a mockery of our country.
We have to remember.
And I hope that the Dr. Ceesay I know will come back and be guided by what is in the interest of all Gambians and not what will keep him in his position as state minister. With that, I thank you so very much.
Thank you, Pa Samba Jow. Well, Dr. Ceesay listened to every word in that contribution. All right. Just adjust the microphone for me. Thank you. Thank you so very much, Dr. Ceesay. Good morning and welcome back to Coffee Time.
Good morning, Peter.
Very good. Very good. Let's work backwards. When can we have the old Dr. Ceesay back?
Well, Dr. Ceesay hasn't changed. What old Dr. Ceesay are you talking about?
Shut up.
That is not important, Peter. What Dr. Ceesay, new doctor, that is not important.
You see, this guy we are calling doctor here. Let me say something here. I think in the Gambia, and I'm not even joking about this, in the Gambia we need an agency, a state agency, okay? A state-sanctioned agency that needs to be checking credentials of Gambians who studied abroad. If you want to work in the Gambia, in any of our systems, being in the government or in the private sector, your credentials should be checked. If you have a diploma from outside, from abroad, if you have a bachelor's, master's, PhD, whatever credentials, whatever certificate you bring from abroad, it should be checked. We'll end up with people like Dr. Ceesay. There is no way to stop people like Dr. Ceesay from getting into the system if we don't, implement such plans. We have to do something. I just want to say this because I feel like there are a lot of people in the Gambia with so-called PhDs who are not worth their salt. Having a PhD does not mean that you only have to be fluent, you have to be articulate, you have to carry that big title all the time. No, it is beyond that. It comes with some dignity and integrity. There should be some checks, guys. I swear to God. There should be some serious checks. And in fact, even another government comes in 10 years, they happen to find out that you were in the system, using fake diplomas and degrees, and then you milk our system. You were paid, substantial amount of money in the name of salaries and allowances. You should be penalized. Obviously.
Important is that I deduced 3 things from Coach Pa Samba Jow's views. Not only this one, but even previously. Number 1, Coach Pa Samba Jow is unfair. Number 2, he's not a Democrat. Coach Pa Samba Jow can speak his mind and attack the government and attack anyone. Once you come to say your views about the government, he goes on the attack again. That's not democracy. He is free to attack and criticize the government. We are also free to talk about the positive things of the government. That's democracy. So why is Coach Pa Samba Jow agitated whenever you talk about the good things of this government? What I said is very clear, and he hasn't responded to my query that the accusations levied against ministers in this government that they are corrupt. Let them bring the evidence. That was my point. I'm not saying that the government...
Abasanyan,
thank you.
But Case in point.
Abasanya.
But those actions were done when he was at local as a is it governor at
because this government is still not being honest.
No, what I'm saying.
You see, can you imagine the guy that even Barrow himself fired just because he was corrupt, got hands in the cookie jar, pants down, red-handed. Dr. Ceesay is still defending it. This man, I don't know.
Being honest about the wetlands, being allocated and all of that.
But investigations are on. This is the first time ever that government proactively comes out to disclose investigations and to disclose malpractices within the system. This is the first time ever the government is transparent. It has never been transparent ever in the history of this country. It is transparent and it is accountable to the people. But that is not the issue. The issue at hand is that Coach Pa Samba Jow knows that under the regime of His Excellency President Adama Barrow, the Gambia is much freer now for people to speak their mind. There are no political exiles across the world. There is nobody living in exile right now as opposed to before. Nobody disappears like that. Could Pa Samba Jow,
we're talking about imprisonment and persecution. That is the issue.
Name me one who is persecuted politically in this country.
All of UDP members, all of them.
Name me one.
It's not just politicians that
but there are no persecution.
Look, activists
the issue,
and
who is persecuted? Name me one person.
Madi Jabate was given. Even yourself, you were named.
No. Listen, my case was that I made a statement. The police made an assessment thinking it was a threat.
Wasn't that part of your freedom of speech?
But Peter, that is not important.
You see, he's now mitigating his own illegal arrest. He's now mitigating it. Now that he's a minister. No wonder this. I don't want to use certain derogatory words before the platform owners will penalize me. But you see, this guy is very, very annoying. Can you imagine? You've been put in prison. You at the time said very clearly that you were jailed illegally. You were held in detention illegally. And now you are here telling us that the police thought, I said something like you were trying to make it look like the police misunderstood your statement at the time and therefore they called you. My friend, you were put in a cell. You were put in a cell.
Today it is not.
It's not. No, what I'm saying is that we cannot bring in issues to say that because of one or two things.
You wanted examples.
No, my case is what the president was. Let's not deviate from the context. The president said that since he came to power, no person has been jailed. No journalist has been jailed and no political prison and no.
This guy, Momodou Justice was arrested and jailed in the Gambia. Okay? NPP members attacked journalists in the Gambia. Nothing happened there. You remember that? Dr. Ismaila said, do we need to remind you about specific cases? What is this guy talking about? Madi Jobade, an activist affiliated to no political party at all. Single-handedly, the president took a podium and made mention of his name as one of those that are instigating violence, or at least people who are trying to, set the country on fire. In his own words. What is Madi? An activist known for what? Speaking about the government and public affairs issues. That's all what he's known for. And at some point, they even tried to kidnap him, arrest him from his house in the name of inviting him for questioning when he was sick. But they wouldn't excuse him just because he wasn't well. They still wanted to arrest him. I felt Madi is not even my cup of tea, by the way. But I felt for him that day when they tried to arrest him while he was sick, surveilling him until he became aware that he was under their radar. He was being surveilled upon by the police. What kind of thing is this? What kind of country is Ismaila Ceesay talking about? Are we not talking about the Gambia? Have the subject matter moved to another country or what? This guy must think we are all dumb.
Political activists has been, and that is the fact. And if Coach Pa Samba Jow is fair,
for 6 days or more, he told you the case of Bora.
What I'm saying
this Bora fellow.
And by the way, Bora's arrest and detention has been declared as illegal. I don't know. I know Peter, he can only do so much because there's too many things to fact check with this guy. Bora's case was taken to court and it is determined that it was illegal. It was just a formality, but we all knew that it was illegal. And by the way, Bora was subjected to mock execution, which is torture. You cannot subject somebody to mock execution. That is torture. What is Ismaila Ceesay trying to say here? I don't even understand this guy. Ismaila Ceesay this guy has no shame at all. He has no integrity. Literally.
You know about Bora.
What I'm saying is that
Do you know about Bora?
If you want us to have a
You
discussion.
see, if you listen carefully, he's pretending as if he doesn't know Bora, or mentioning Bora's name will give some relevance to Bora. Gambians know about Bora before you. Let me just tell you that. Bora was very well known in the Gambia before you. 10 years before you came to this political stage to seek attention, by the way, because you are a fraud. The whole of Gambia knew Bora well before they knew you, Dr. Ismaila Ceesay. That's what I want you to understand. Bora was very well known in that country before you came to this political stage as a fraudster. Okay? So just to be clear. So Bora, in fact, when Bora mentions your name, perhaps he's giving you relevance. Bora was doing his things well. You, Ismaila Ceesay, you are an entity.
If you make your point, let me make my point. There's a difference between arbitrarily jailing someone or arresting someone, prosecuting him, taking him to the courts and jailing him in mile 2 is different from the police making an assessment that somebody's actions are a violation of the law and they call you for questioning. That's a totally different thing. We accept that the police are doing their job. These are policing issues. They can call on someone for questioning to build a case. But this is the fact. And Peter, let's admit it. I mean, if we are fair, if we are really being fair, both me, yourself, and Coach and anybody else, since this government came to power, no activist, no politician, no journalist has...
All of what he said did not make any sense. And then he's trying to he's trying to come up with an example. Okay? Jailed in mile 2, I don't know, a court case involved, blah, blah. No, as of the time that Bora was in detention, there was no charges. Bora was not taken to court. Was he taken to court? No, he was being arrested and detained beyond the 72 hours. There was no court involvement. What is this guy trying to... You see, this is how liars go about lying. Okay? They very quickly spring out of their uncomfortable zone and try to lure you into what may look like a universal truth to make you, literally agree with them. But if you go back to where they start, it's all lies. This man is not telling any truth here. He's just being deceptive. This is deception 101. You started explaining Bora's case. Nothing was coherent because you knew very well what happened there. It was just violation. And you tried to give us an example. What example are you giving?
Been arbitrarily and taken to mile 2. Or nobody has been arrested and taken to a process because of your views and taken to... It has not happened. And I haven't seen it yet. You haven't given me an example. The example to give me are issues where the police are doing their job, seeing an issue that needs further investigation, calling for questioning. These are two different things.
Ismaila.
So Coach Pa Samba Jow should at least give the devil its due. He was in exile. He could not come.
Now
he can come. He for when he comes. And we meet at barbecues when he comes. That is the free Gambia, the new dispensation. He has to accept that. But also he needs to be more democratic. He has a right to criticize. And we have a right to talk about the goods of the government. But once you come out to say one good thing, he criticizes you. He's not democratic. That is anti-democratic.
And you are responding to him?
No. There's a difference. When you say he criticizes you, you are a public official. Okay? You are a public official. What is wrong with him criticizing you? Dr. Ismaila, you are not saying... This guy is not even making sense whatsoever. He's just speaking because he has airtime. He's just speaking. He has free airtime. He's given the microphone and he can speak for as long as he wants. But this guy is not even making any sense here. Literally. He's just here to defend anything NPP, Barrow and Barrow government. That's it.
So it's all part of the dialogue. And this is what we encourage here.
That's what I'm saying. Court is not democratic because court can criticize. Court will criticize. I'm telling you, he will criticize. Nobody says anything. But if you come to say the good things, he criticizes you for saying the good things. So he needs to be a bit more democratic. He can criticize, but let him allow us also to say the things that are good about the government. Not everything is bad.
That is the right you are enjoying right now.
Everybody's enjoying it.
In principle, throwing me in detention in mile 2 and dragging me from my home and holding me in Quinella, which is not officially designated as a prison. What is the difference?
The difference is huge. Since what the president said in his speech, and I think let's not deviate from that speech, this whole argument boils down.
You're going back to the president.
No, that is the speech.
I just asked you a simple question. Let me say it again and listen carefully.
Yes.
Throwing me or holding me in detention at mile 2, which is the officially designated prison, all right? Or holding me in detention in some unidentified place.
What unidentified place? Who has been kept in unidentified place?
This Bora fellow.
Was not kept with that in everybody knew where he was.
Where was he?
He was an anti-crime. It's not unidentified.
Being an anti-crime.
It's not unidentified.
You see this braggadocious fool trying not to, he's still not even, can you imagine, the state violated this man's right, and that has been established and determined by a court. He's still avoiding deliberately to even mention his name. Have some respect, doctor. This guy is a victim. This is officially, this is what you can describe as a victim. As somebody who is part of the authority, you should at least give that respect to him. That he took you to court, he went to court, he tested the system that you said you have established and you are overseeing, because you are the government. I mean, Dr. Ismaila Ceesay, you are annoying. You are really annoying. May God punish you.
People don't have access to him, where he can't walk about freely, where he's probably unable to use his phone. What is the difference?
When the police...
One is officially designated a prison, but it's the same thing. He's denied all his rights.
It's totally different.
Well, give me the difference.
The difference is that when the police are making their investigations on an alleged crime, they have a right to hold you incommunicado if they believe that you coming to contact with the public can undermine their investigation.
It's a big fat lie. Ismaila Ceesay, you have no legal background. You have no background in law. That is a flagrant violation of international law, domestic law, and even regional law. That is a lie. That is a big fat lie. It is not true. You cannot hold anybody incommunicado. If in fact you must allow them to communicate with their family members. What are you trying to say here? Because if you say incommunicado, that means you cannot even allow them to have access to their lawyer. Holding someone incommunicado literally means that they cannot even have access to a lawyer, because they need to speak to a lawyer. You know how flagrant, you know how serious that is? You see, this man is ignorant. You are talking from a very ignorant point of view here. Very ignorant. You don't even know what is incommunicado. Imagine a whole state arresting somebody and preventing them from talking to anybody, just anybody, regardless, family members, lawyers, co-workers, just anybody. Imagine that. A state cannot do that. Dr. Ismaila Ceesay. And I think in as much as, yeah, you can say I have never studied law, I have no background in law, but this is just common sense for anybody who has higher education. You know that you cannot hold anybody incommunicado. There is no excuse for this, doctor. This has nothing to do with you being a political science specialist. No. This is just you exhibiting ignorance. You cannot just say that the police can hold somebody incommunicado. This is unacceptable. It's a serious violation. That is what they call Miranda rights. Those who know the law knows what I'm talking about. How can you even allow somebody to exercise all of their Miranda rights if you will not allow them to speak to a lawyer? Let me not even say a lawyer, because incommunicado is like nobody. You're not going to speak to nobody. Dr. Ismaila Ceesay, you are ignorant. You are very, very ignorant. That's the fact. Sorry.
But also undermine evidence. That's police's job.
So that is happening. That is happening right now in the Gambia.
I am not saying it is happening. What I'm saying is that if the police believe
I'm asking you a question. Is it happening or not happening?
I cannot answer that question. I cannot get into policing work. That's operational policing job. What I can tell you is that anywhere in the world, Peter, give me the chance to just land.
Go ahead.
Anywhere in the world, when the police suspect that there's a crime and they call you in for questioning and they are operating within the framework of the law, which is a 72-hour time frame, they have the liberty to do their job without interference, as long as they operate within the framework of the law. In all these cases you have mentioned, I have not seen any case where the police have acted outside the framework of the law. That is what is important. Now, when it comes to mile 2, we all know what was happening.
Let me just say something quickly here. This guy is literally trying to say that. That's why I say this guy doesn't know what is incommunicado. He's literally trying to say that you can hold somebody incommunicado as long as you don't hold them in detention beyond the 72-hour mark. Incommunicado, even 1 hour, you cannot just do that. Let me just give you a typical example of something like this. In the case of kidnapping, for example, okay, if you take somebody in the law, and this is like general law, this is not like codified in particular jurisdiction, like generally, okay? Kidnapping is understood to be like this. For example, okay, let's say I tell you to come to my house, okay? So since you come to my house and then I lock the doors, then we have a discussion, okay? Even a peaceful discussion, nothing. I offered you food, water, and everything. And then you go home later on. One thing led to the other, then there was an investigation, and then later it was understood that as of the time that I invited you into my house, when you came in, I closed the door. You were not at liberty to move out. You could not have moved because I was trying to establish something or at least find out something. And unless I find that out, you were not going to leave. But I didn't tell you, and you didn't know that you were being kidnapped. That is kidnap under the law. Dr. Ismaila Ceesay, you don't understand these issues. You are just misleading yourself. You talking too much. You talking too much, bro. Adama Ceesay, I think Adama Barrow, you need a lawyer. I kid you not, because you're this guy now is parroting about the law and he knows nothing about it. Nothing. Dr. Ceesay is the most ignorant Gambian about the law that I've ever seen. This guy does not know anything about the law. Like nothing. I'm telling you.
Here before, when they arrest, they take you straight to Maitu and keep you there. That is not happening anymore. It's not happening anymore. Let us admit the fact, Peter.
No,
let's be fair. We can criticize, but when things are good, let us talk about the good things. Sometimes you guys put this, everything is negative, 100% negative. What is good about this country? What is good? Let's talk about it sometimes. That which is good about this country.
You do that every day.
We can't be talking about that always that which is negative about this country. Recently, the IMF.
I'll end my program very soon. I don't want to hear this nonsense.
Saying that our economy is going to grow by 5.8%, and that inflation has decreased to single figures from 18 point something to 9 point something. It's not headline news. Coach will not talk about it because it's a positive things. You did not talk about
Ismaila,
it in your program because they're positive.
Let me tell you something, Ismaila. If you want to know how the economy is in the Gambia, okay, go and ask the ordinary Gambian, or at least try to observe or study the life of the ordinary Gambian right now. People are suffering. I'm telling you. People cannot afford their basics, their daily needs, literally. NPP is a propaganda party, to be honest. This is why President Barrow, I don't know, I know a couple of people who speaks to the president and I understand their mindset, but I can tell you this for free. Dr. Ismaila Ceesay and Momodou Sabal are not brought to this government coincidentally. It was deliberate. These two were brought on board deliberately, because you see, these two have said so many damaging things to the president, and they all ended up being part of the Barrow government. Just think about it. This was a deliberate attempt by the Barrow government, and I know that those who consider themselves as the movers and shakers behind the scene of the NPP are the ones who advised President Adama Barrow to come and to bring this guy to scrub off the mess he put on, or let me say the stain he put on the president's image. This guy will go to, very dangerous lengths to defend President Adama Barrow and his government. That's all I'm going to have to say about him. I will soon end his program. I will play the audio for you soon, but I am done with this guy. I'm literally done with this guy. This guy is he's professional at what he does. I don't know. I'm really, and I know, Gambia is a small country. Even some of my personal friends are friends to this guy. But I cannot stand this guy. I really, really cannot stand Dr. Ismaila Ceesay. To be honest with you, this guy can lie. Like literally, he can lie.
Let us make sure sometime, Peter.
I could use the L word on you. I could bring out a recording where what you are just saying, you would hear me chair a conversation where we spoke about this.
Well, I apologize. I missed it. Then I apologize. I take that back. I missed
to use the L word against you.
No, don't use it because I've apologized. But anyways, going forward, what I'm saying is that, Peter, sometimes not everything is negative. There's good news coming from Banjul. But Coach will never discuss that good news. The only time Coach intervenes is when bad news comes from Banjul.
I'm going to come back to my question.
Yes.
Are people being picked up, being held incommunicado by the police during the course of this Barrow government? Yes or no?
I'm not aware of it. I'm not aware of it. What I know is that the police are doing their job.
It happened with Momodou Sabali, who is now with you.
Was he held incommunicado?
He was held incommunicado.
I'm not aware of that.
He was held
I'm not aware of that. You know what incommunicado is? You don't have access to visits, to phone calls, to anything.
I know what incommunicado is.
Yeah, I know what I'm saying. I'm not aware of that. I know what with Momodou Sabali, I knew.
Bro, there is only one person on this panel who does not understand what incommunicado is, and that is Dr. Ismaila Ceesay. Please leave Peter alone.
Yeah, visits.
You go when you go back to Momodou Sabali and tell him to be honest. He will tell you.
Well,
he was
if it happens, I mean, is it illegal?
What about
when police are investigating?
Jobate?
But I cannot go into individual cases. What I can tell you is what is happening, broadly speaking, in this country. That rights are being respected. There's freedom of the media, and nobody is persecuted anymore for political views.
The media is not being respected, as advised by lawyer A&M Usainu Darboe. The charges against those two journalists should be one of a civil matter. Okay, those charges, they don't make any sense in relation to criminal law. It's not a matter of criminal issue. Let the president's lawyer engage these two journalists and they find a solution to it. The solution to all cases is not just, trial. Okay, it can be settled outside. The public doesn't have to know about everything. You can find your own ways to solve these issues. But no.
The radio every day insulting the president, insulting the government, criticizing the government. Nothing is happening. Let's
tell
talk
me
about
one
that.
president who is not insulted.
The president
who is not being insulted.
I'm not saying you. I'm not saying on this program. What I'm saying is that in this country today, people speak their mind.
He gets criticized a lot.
He gets criticized. He gets insulted on WhatsApp forums. He gets insulted by people.
WhatsApp is not
on social media. And people go home to sleep and nothing happens to them. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that which is positive as well. Yes, the police do their job. In the course of doing their job, some people might feel uncomfortable. But that is policing job. That's operational policing job. What I can tell you, overall, the environment today in the Gambia is far different from what used to obtain in this country. People are much freer. Nobody is persecuted. Nobody is disappeared forcefully. Nobody is forced to go on exile. No, nobody. Politically or after an activist. Nobody is forced to go on an exile. People are free to speak their mind. They are from this press. And the indicators are saying that. Let's talk about that. The isolated incidences where the police are doing their job, the discomfort of some people should not be headline news.
Okay. What else is there positive that you want to discuss before we come up with maybe more questions?
Well, I think the one I've discussed, that is IMF report, that inflation has decreased to single digits.
The central bank told us that long before the IMF.
Exactly, and that we've changed the
Very good, very good.
It's not changed, but altered a bit. Now it's called the Ministry of Information, Media and Broadcasting Services. This is done. This is done to reflect international trends. Most ministries that are in this domain have these kind of similar names, but also it makes it easy for correspondence.
A ministry called that in any country?
In Malawi, I think in Zimbabwe, it's called the Minister of Media and Broadcasting Services, Information Media and Broadcasting Service, but also correspondence purposes. When you say information, it doesn't tell that much, but sometimes there is some miscommunication. Some letters supposed to come to us. It goes to the Minister of Digital Communications. So to kind of have to delineate it and have a clear separation of mandate.
This government caused that confusion. I ask myself. This happened. Have a Ministry of Communication, Ministry of Information, and I ask myself, where do I belong? And GRTS belongs here, but other information-related institutions.
To obviate that confusion in terms of correspondence, but also as in line with international best practice. We try to also have in line with our mandate, it needs to be out there in a very more succinct manner.
So now officially you're the Minister for Information,
Media and Broadcasting Services.
Information, Media and Broadcasting Service. Or is information out?
No, still there. Information, Media and Broadcasting Services.
Broadcasting Service.
Yes.
Does that give you more powers?
It doesn't. Same mandate, just that it was subsumed. And when it's information, many people don't know exactly what the mandate of the Ministry of Information is. So now it is more out there that the Ministry of Information is also not responsible only for giving information, but also we also oversee the media sector, but also the broadcasting service sector.
So Does that now do you feel that now gives you the authority to go after all these annoying audios on WhatsApp and all that? Because because that is broadcasting.
Well, Peter, like I said, we are not. This government doesn't have the. We don't go after people. This government doesn't do that. We are not known for that. People are free to speak. Their mandate is the kind of environment we want to prevail.
You're going after Justice Darboe and Musa
the state. You see, let's differentiate the government and the state. The state has a right, and the police is a key instrument.
I will have to. Sorry, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this special edition of Kachaa. I will have to end this program here. It is really difficult to stay to sit with a straight face listening to Dr. Ismaila Ceesay lying to you for a whole 1 hour. So definitely I don't think I have that endurance. I think I have had enough, and I think I cannot take more than this. Dr. Ismaila Ceesay is really annoying. Those of you who know me personally, if you want to listen to the whole segment, you can just text me and I will forward the audio to you. I'll keep it for 2 days, I promise. And beyond the 2 days mark, I will delete the audio. Mostly that's how I do it. When I have play audios on my program, I keep them for 2 days, and after that mostly I delete them. But the good thing is YouTube is a very good place to save these videos or audios, let me say. When we have them in video format, we can keep them here for eternity. So ala baraka bake, thank you very much, and jarama jere Jeff program o nying badana janne.